Sarah, I'm so grateful you are joining us today.
Hi, Beck.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting all things LinkedIn. We haven't gotten into the chat yet, but thank you for joining me.
No, it's really good to be here.
So I think the reason I thought it was so important to get you on the show is I know I have such a wide range of people that listen to this podcast. We have people that are in corporate and also people that are their own business owners. And I think it's really important that people understand why LinkedIn is such a great tool. I'm always, harping on about it, but you have got this amazing product that you've created to help people boost their LinkedIn profile because this is a thing that you're passionate about. So tell us more about that.
Sure, yeah. So I basically work with executives to build their personal brands. And the reason that that is so important is because it increases their influence, their professional value, and ultimately they get to have the career they want. So what I found was when I was doing all of this, working on the foundations of their brand, that for many people, a big, like once you've got your resume done, then really the next step is LinkedIn. And what I found is a lot of executives really hadn't optimized their LinkedIn at all. So while we were building the personal brands and building those foundations, what do you want to be known for? What are your goals? What are your messages? That was sort of the first platform that had to be addressed. And the reason why that's so important is because when someone Googles your name, as they inevitably will, before they meet you, that's the first thing that shows up. So we had to get that right. So before we even thought about things like speaking at events or media or any of those sorts of things, we've really had to kind of get LinkedIn right. So I decided that as part of my program, I would create a smaller program for people who just wanted to get that right. And that's where Boost Your Profile Booster, which is like 15 steps to go from amateur to professional. And that's when I created that. And so that's been really popular and lots of people have done it now. And it's just a really good, quick way to make sure that you are showing up in the right way.
Yeah, I love that because I think, and LinkedIn's had a very interesting life out of all the social medias, I feel. Facebook went from this place of like, connect with your friends, have a community. And now it's kind of, like no one really wants to be on there. And LinkedIn's gone, like, obviously it got bought out by Microsoft. And then I remember back in the day, it was kind of like, you're on there only for recruiters and jobs.
Yes.
And, I remember once, like, because I put a lot of time and effort early on into my LinkedIn because I was like, I want to be known in my industry,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm in marketing. I have to do this. And I'd talk to people in HR that didn't even have LinkedIn and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I know, like, for me, I would get, like, it would come up, what was that? Like, your profile is professional or you get a ranking. And I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
yes,
Yes.
I'm making it. But I still find with a lot of people, they don't understand the power around LinkedIn. Like, they don't understand that LinkedIn and Google are great friends. This means if you want powerful SEO, LinkedIn is your friend. And then
Oh,
the other thing I think, and I'm sure you can talk to this a lot more, is the fear around showing up on LinkedIn because your boss might say.
yeah, so there's a lot of fear around LinkedIn, funnily enough, because it always amazes me because people are quite comfortable posting on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, I know.
But you mentioned LinkedIn and it's all of a sudden it's, oh my God. So
Yeah,
there's a
like,
lot of lurkers in LinkedIn who don't even like or comment, they just watch for fear of, saying the wrong thing professionally. So not looking sort of smart and amazing. Or looking like they're on LinkedIn, or maybe they want to leave their job. There's a whole heap of old sort of mindset thoughts around LinkedIn. And then there's a whole heap that's sort of just fear-based, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot. And then there's the fear of posting. I mean, that's just a whole different gamut in its own. But nowadays it's definitely not the platform just for recruitment. And yeah, I agree, it was probably 10 years ago, but now it's about, people will go there. They will go there to find out about you. And before you, and as I said before, it's the first thing that comes up. If you're not like really well-known media darling, that will be, you don't have your own website, that will be the first thing that comes up. So you've got to make sure that that it's really optimized and putting you in the right position.
Yeah. And it is really a website for you. Like it is, especially because I know when I was in corporate, I would never have thought of creating my own website or my own identity.
Yeah.
And this was because I had that fear around, oh, but I work for this company, so everything I do is reflective on that company. And I think that thought process, and I see it a lot in the, like, I'll go into quite big corporates and I'll sit down and I'll say, why are your people not using LinkedIn and promoting your brand and your business and talking about it and talking about who they are within the company? Your company has all these great people that are so passionate about their work. Let them be passionate. And sorry, you.
Or employee advocacy in that space is huge and really, really powerful, but there's a lot of hesitancy around it. So some companies really embrace it, and some of the big companies really embrace it. And then you've got the companies who, you can't say a word. So I sort of have seen both extremes. What I encourage people to do is to build their profile around what they want out of their future as well. So, you may not be with that company next year. So it's worth building that profile around yourself, and you can obviously that the sort of the glow goes to the company as well. But making a space for yourself online as well, so that you can showcase your experience as well.
And I think there is let's get out of the mindset of you're going to stay at the same company for 30 years because you're not. Let's be realistic about that, right? And I think that our professional growth, I have friends that especially at the moment, Great Resignation and all that, they're like, I always say to them, if you're unhappy in the company and you are looking, have you looked at your LinkedIn profile? Have you, even considered that? And some of them still don't even have their most recent job. And I'm like, why are we not using this tool more? It's even as business owners, I think as business owners, the amount of people that are shocked when one of the first things I say to them is, have you built up your LinkedIn profile? And they're like, why would I do that? I sell a product. Instagram's my space. I'm like, yeah, but you're still a business owner. You are a thought leader. You will get sales through LinkedIn inadvertently by having a profile and a presence there. So I guess give us some tips or some of the shockers that you've seen with profiles.
I mean, look, I've seen lots of them, but there's a whole heap of things I could sort of speak on, but quickly I'll sort of say, not having a banner, using that LinkedIn, what do they call it? LinkedIn, oh my gosh, the words.
The background banner thing?
The plain default. Sorry, the default, which is that plain blue. That just should be banished from anyone, and no one should have that. And a up-to-date picture of yourself, something, no wedding crops, no,
selfies.
No, they should be well lit, great photo of your face, not, you and a dog or you and whatever. So there's some basics, right? And, so a professional photo, some people say, oh, should I wear a tie, should I not? And that really depends on where you work. So if you're a creative, no. But if you're a banker, yes, you may feel if that's how you're positioning yourself, then that's important.
And if you're going to want to go for those corporate jobs forever, and that's the personality and what you're bringing to your career, then of course you're going to have to dress the part that's expected in that world.
The other thing I would say is, the about section really stumps people. So that is probably the most difficult piece for people to get past. And so often having a sort of a redo of their resume is not good. You don't want to have that. It should be really future focused. It should be about the value you can bring to an organization. And yes, you can, if you're going to be talking about yourself and saying, hey, I'm really good at X, then back it up with a couple of examples that maybe some recent work you've worked on. But that's about as far as you go with my work history. It should be focused on, moving forward and what I can offer and how to position yourself. And then I see, I suppose, incomplete profiles that maybe don't have your work history or don't have your education or don't have your skills. They should be, that's another area, top skills should be really front and center so that people actually know, these are the things I can say, yes, you're great at, so endorse you for. And I suppose the other most important thing is your headline. So I've noticed a bit of a trend towards people just doing 3 words or 4 words with those pipes in between them. But I find I struggle with knowing even what they do. So if you're a business owner or you are a coach or you're an executive, you should actually say that you are. You don't have to write your title, but, on mine, it says I'm a career success coach. I've got
Mine says marketing strategist, which is
perfect. So that I know what you are straight away, but then you can use the rest of it for, helping small businesses do X or, and also adding some keywords in there to be found. But yeah, that's sort of some of the main things. And interestingly enough, everybody is asked, if you're going for a job, everybody is asked for their LinkedIn these days. And I've even seen that internally as well. So if you go for an internal job, internal recruiters are asking to see your LinkedIn. It's just expected on the resume now.
And so the other thing, I guess, for as a business owner, every single time I send a proposal out there, the first thing I notice people do is check out my LinkedIn.
There you go. Yeah.
They, especially, I mean, for me, I'm in a lot of places. They can get a real feel from me, obviously through the podcast or through my Insta or whatever it is. But I guess at the end of the day, they still want to go to LinkedIn and see what my professional history is.
Yes.
And what I've achieved in my career. And that's the thing, I don't know if this is right or wrong, and you can kind of tell me if I need to switch this up. In my previous job section, I've got obviously who I work for, my title, and then I've got all the achievements that I achieved there. So like literally for me, especially in marketing, like a lot of it's like people talk a lot of fluffy stuff. I'm very ROI. So I put there all the stats of each job and where they were at when I started and when I left there, because I figured that's pretty useful for for people.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. And those achievements, and also putting some media in there. So if there's media you can add, that's always good as well.
Yeah.
And then another thing I've noticed is, so recruiters will do a search in Sales Navigator, and they'll be able to see who's been active in the last 30 days. So that's they'll often do that. So that's another reason to make sure you're on that platform. I mean, apart from all the other reasons like building networks and just, maintaining relationships and so forth, it's important to be active as well.
Yeah. And I think social media gets a bad rap for this. Like, it's like, oh, it's such a negative place. I don't believe that at all. No. I think I've met some of the most amazing people through social media, to be honest. And I've made some really important connections in business and in my career and just as friends through these platforms. And I think that when we approach it with that intentionality of, I genuinely want to build network and I want to, gone are the days where we have to go out to a big networking function and awkwardly walk up to someone. I got a really interesting email this morning, actually. It was, are you open to a conversation about how you can do better? And I was like,
oh, wow, that's a real great one.
But it got me right. I was like, well, maybe I am. But, and I think in-mail can be seen as really like, intrusive and in your face. And look, I don't love receiving them either. Half of them are just horrible sales things. But, you can get those occasional ones that are genuinely like, this person even reading it, I was like, they're having a bit of a laugh at themselves for sending this email. And I know that they've probably sent 20 other people or 50 other people, but it was funny enough that it got my attention. So I'm like, if you're in a career and you fangirl someone and you're like, I love that person, I'd love them to be my mentor, or I would love to just watch their journey, why wouldn't you reach out to them and say,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And if you every time I read a book or watch a great TEDx, I always reach out to the person if I think it's a great topic that they spoke on, and that's what LinkedIn's about. It's about having everybody accessible to you, and not everyone will reply or respond, and that's okay. It's not.
I love that. Okay, so tips for one last thing to get out of you. So what about tips for posting? Because as you said, there's a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn. And I find this from a marketing point of view, it frustrates the hell out of me because so many people, even when I first started my business, I did this thing every Monday called Marketing Monday before the podcast. So it was when I was still trying to obviously get content out there. But now that I've got the podcast, I'm not also going to do a video every week, but I would do this video every week, and people would call me and be like, hey, Beck, like, love watching your videos. I'm like, if you love them that much, like them.
Comment, please. Come on. Get that algorithm going.
No one ever did. And the amount of times I would get honestly, I'd get 1 to 2 likes on these videos, but I knew people were watching them because I was getting the phone calls, I was getting the emails, I was getting the messages. And I think this lurking on LinkedIn, it is fear-based, I think, because people like, I don't want other people to see what I'm writing. Yes. How do we get over this? Let's get rid of this lurking?
It's a really difficult one, and it really only happens, I think, on LinkedIn because people have that fear around putting that professional foot forward. So my comment has to be, profound and of massive impact, but it doesn't. It just has to be, encouraging. And one of the best ways to get people to talk to do that is to ask them a question. Just ask a question that's easy to answer. So if you're asking them for their views, often people get scared. So if, do you agree with this or not? Well, people may get a bit scared off, and you might get the ones who are quite vocal instead.
Yeah.
But if you're going to say something like, what's your experience with this, or have you ever experienced this, or something that sort of just no yes nos, but something that just gets people comfortably talking. And the other thing is quickly responding to people who do actually comment. So I suppose the same with, other social media platforms, but quickly responding so people know that you actually will respond if they comment.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Yeah. That's a good point. I think, and it is in the name, right? It's social media.
Yeah.
It's all about that being social.
And the only other thing I was going to say before was that when it comes to businesses, Sales Navigator is fantastic. I don't know how much you've had practice with that, Beck, like in terms of your work, but
no, I've never really played with Sales Navigator because, like, I guess for me, like the work that I'll do with clients is more that, like, what's your strategy, what's your messaging, what's your product, what's your service, all that sort of like that foundation level stuff. And it's interesting because my clients do ask me about Sales Navigator. So maybe take us on that little journey.
Look, I'm no, Sales Navigator expert, but I do use it for myself. And these are the things that I've sort of learned from Sales Navigator. What I like about it is that you can really target very, very specifically to people. So, how long they've been in a job, what company they work for, what companies they have worked for, who they're connected to, who they follow, really delve right into the info. And the other thing to remember is that if you are trying to build your network on LinkedIn, you've got 100 connections only every week. So the good thing about Sales Navigator is that if you are clear about building your profile, say you are a coach that does something to do with health, and you want to find people in that space, then you would target those 100 that you are trying to connect with that week through Sales Navigator. You would find them.
And what would you do through? So Sales Navigator just gives you their names and their details and stuff, does it?
That's right, and all their information. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And then you can connect with them.
Yeah, I love that.
So rather than just connecting with random people that you sort of come across, it just gives you a lot more scope in terms of what you actually want.
Yeah, and you can be quite targeted. Yeah, I love that. That's a great thing to know. Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't get to bank those 100. So once that week's over, that 100's gone. So
use it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really cool. Can you add a message when you're connecting?
Yes, you can. Yep.
That's fab.
And I think it goes into the email unless you've sort of got some other connection. But I don't always do that at all because I like to, 100 messages is a lot. But LinkedIn outreach is very powerful for businesses as well.
Yeah, I find that like when I reach out to people, even people that I've previously worked with or people I haven't connected with a while, like you and I obviously know each other through Janine, and Janine really promotes that. She's like, how are you intentionally connecting with people this week? Like, how are you doing that? And it is this lost art of business. And LinkedIn gives us this ability. Like, I love the idea of LinkedIn because it's like, if you've worked with someone awesome in the past, but you're not quite their friend, but you really want to stay close to them, it's Facebook, but for business. I love it.
Yeah. And I love it too. I think it's a fantastic platform. And I also think it's great that basically it's free,
Yeah.
You're not having to pay for your, to get in front of people all the time.
Yeah, the only thing I will laugh about is when you accidentally are on the free version and you LinkedIn stalk people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or one of the first things I say to my students when they do the LinkedIn profile booster is we need to go to settings and make sure that we've changed the settings so that you don't notify everybody that you've changed one little thing on your profile, because that can put people off a lot too.
Yeah, totally.
Scared, people go, oh my God, everyone's going to find out. Not if you get the right setting.
Yeah. I remember actually I had changed that setting when I opened Plum. Yeah. And so no one saw that I'd opened my own business.
Oh, yeah, then you have to turn it back.
I did. It was very sad because I was like, no, why does no one care? This is a big step in my life.
Oh no.
Oh dear. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Sarah. It's been so helpful. I always love our chats. And I think you've given so much information to the audience. If they're ignoring LinkedIn, hopefully they will stop doing that.